our podcast, and we've really had a range of topics over the 3 years that we've been working on it, but it's really meant to be our audience is teachers, primarily within our district, but we also reach some teachers outside of our district, and we really like to focus on current topics that are of concern and relevance to our teachers in Morton 709. So we will talk about particular instructional practices that are best practice for the different situations that we're working with teachers. Sometimes we have teachers who are doing really innovative things in their classrooms, and we want to focus on that. It's also given us an opportunity to talk about some of those topics that maybe can bring a little tension to the table, and address it hopefully in a way that we give voice to that, and also try to give some action steps after that, so we don't kind of wallow in what the problem is, but we're actually looking forward to what can we do about it, or how can we take action in our classroom to alleviate that. And then we've been able to celebrate some of the things that are going on in our district. We've interviewed 2 different teachers who have written books recently, and so really showcasing all of the good things that are going on and the exciting things that are happening with our teachers as well.
The episode on building thinking classrooms has been in our minds since like October. And we stepped back and said, let's do something different than we normally do, and let's actually take the podcasting stuff into the classroom. We had already interviewed the teacher, and then my rookie mistake, didn't have the audio. We had interviewed the students on the same day, and so we're like, let's just go into the classroom, kind of pull back the curtain. The kids are they're 4th grade, so they are excited about things that may not excite a 12th grader. And it was like, let's just show them what it's like to make a podcast. I can actually, and so if you want to go ahead.
We want it to be something that teachers can listen to on their way to school or during a planning period, and feel heard. That's one thing. We want them to feel like we have heard what their concerns are in the classroom, or what their excitement is, what's on their mind. But we also want it to be a succinct little professional development snippet. Sometimes we know that it's hopefully a catalyst to working with teachers more closely. So they might hear of something on the podcast, or we might talk about a struggle that is, just taking place in classrooms across the country and in our own. And then that might prompt them to reach out and say, okay, well, let me contact a coach and see what kind of partnership we can have to work specifically on what's going on in their classroom. So really succinct, bite-sized PD that's accessible at any point that they want to reach out and hear it.
And the whole time I kept looking at that saying, I hope that I'm recording. I hope that I'm recording.
So. If not, they would tell you about a growth mindset.
Yes.
See?
I'm glad I didn't get
We failed once, but then we came back.
We did.
You came back.
I want you to know that it's there. Every other week we put out an episode. You can access the past episodes as well. And I want them to know that this is really an extension. This was born out of interviews that Don Sturm and I did with teachers in the district. We had no idea that it was gonna culminate in a podcast. We just wanted to hear, particularly, coming out of COVID, what's going on in your classroom? What do we need to know about the reality of teachers' day-to-day lives and with their students? And then that turned into, hopefully, this vehicle to be able to share their voices consistently. So that's our goal, is to really listen to our teachers, and to be responsive to what they might need to hear to keep them going in the classroom and to give them motivation.
That's the other thing. It's cool because we just bought a subscription to Magic School AI for teachers, and I'm working on, in fact, this morning, working on getting the CEO of the company. Now people can see that, okay, here's Magic School. Yes, it's on a computer screen, but here's the guy that developed it, and here's why he developed it. And I think that's much more powerful than just saying, hey, everybody try to use Magic School AI.
All right, Mrs. Bishop, what was your...
We've presented at conferences. I'm currently the president-elect of IDEA, which is the Illinois Digital Educators Alliance, and I said, let's do live podcasting. And so we had presented there. We then did live podcasting. And so we tried to give back to the community, and I know that sounds kind of corny, but while this is a podcast that was designed for our district, we also think we have something to provide to others. What we're hoping is that it's kind of like this big circle, that a teacher says, ooh, I want to try that, or I know my next door neighbor's doing that, I'll listen to the podcast, and then they say, hey, to their friend, whether it's in our district or another district, hey, listen to this, and that a principal says, ooh, this is a great idea, or I like what Don and Courtney have presented, why doesn't, like, I want my staff to listen to this. And it's just an easy way of, in between 15 minutes and a half an hour, to get not so much a deep dive into something, but at least gives me something to think about.